Okay, let's get into this. You think you know what goes on in a courtroom, right? Legal talk, maybe some, I don't know, tense moments.
Yeah, the usual stuff.
But what if it all starts with, like, a Best Buy credit card? Seriously.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And hold on, because it's not just about, a missed payment. This whole thing veers way off course into accusations of, like, actual crime, threats, really chilling stuff.
Wow. And what's fascinating here is the source material itself. It's really unique for this kind of deep dive. We're not looking at, polished reports or anything. We've got actual excerpts from a Judge Judy episode transcript.
Which is amazing. It's so raw.
Exactly. It's completely unscripted. You get this just unfiltered view of human conflict, how people try to argue their case.
So maybe you're lifting because you just need a mental break, or maybe you're just, fascinated by real life drama like we are.
How people sort things out.
Or don't. Yeah, or don't. Either way, this is the place. We're going to pull out the most, interesting bits, the thought-provoking stuff from these cases, but without getting lost in all the legal jargon.
And if you look at them together, these transcripts, they really show you the kinds of arguments people have every day.
Totally.
We'll see loans between friends, family, property fights, accusations flying back and forth, all played out in court. It's quite a spectrum of human behavior.
Absolutely. So our mission today, basically to distill the key takeaways, those wait, what moments from these very human clashes. We want to give you some insight into, why we argue, the messiness of everyday conflict.
Okay, let's dive right in. First case, Hannafin versus Stanworth. This one kicks off with Victoria Hannafin suing Nicholas Stanworth. The issue, unpaid charges on that Best Buy card we mentioned.
Right. So Hannafin's story is this. Stanworth comes to her and says, hey, I can help boost your credit score.
Okay. How?
His idea was he'd use her card with her permission, she says, and then just pay her back the cash. Simple, right?
Sounds simple. Too simple, maybe.
Well, yeah. Because then, she claims, things got dark. He starts making these really disturbing threats. We're talking burn me and bury me kind of threats.
Oh.
And even claiming he got off on killing people. I mean, that's beyond just owing money.
That's serious. Okay, What about the timeline? When did this all happen?
The card use started August 2009. Looks like payments were made for September and October, so maybe it worked okay at first.
Some initial agreement followed?
But the last charge hits November 6th. Groceries, actually. Smith's. And she had made him an authorized user, too.
Ah, okay. So what's his side? Stanworth's story.
Completely different. He says, yeah, I paid everything in cash.
Right.
And then he drops this bomb. Suggests it was more like a sugar daddy type relationship.
Wow.
Especially, he says, while her boyfriend was in jail, he implies things went bad right around when the boyfriend was getting out in December.
Okay, so conflicting relationship dynamics. What about where people were living? Judge Judy usually digs into that.
She did. Hannafin said she lived with a friend, Zoe, in Taylorsville, then moved in November. Boyfriend gets out in December, moves into Zoe's old room. It's a bit confusing, the living arrangements.
Yeah, those details can matter. And the actual stuff bought at Best Buy.
Big ticket items, washer, dryer, fridge, TVs, DirecTV boxes, all of it. Hannafin insists, went straight to Stanworth's place. She never had them.
But Stanworth says...
He says, yeah, the washer and dryer went to his place, but he gave her cash for them. He suggests she was staying there too. Okay, but wait, here's a twist. Those exact same washer and dryer, they pop up for sale online, listed by Hannafin.
Ooh, okay. That definitely complicates his story. What does this guy Stanworth do for a living?
He calls it consulting for Sundance Film Festival events, like setting up poker parties, things like that. Claims he makes $85,000 a year.
Poker parties for Sundance.
Says he lives in Salt Lake City but works in LA. It's specific.
It is. Kind of raises eyebrows, maybe. What about, there was something about a car.
Yeah, Stanworth mentioned giving her a good deal on a used car. But she clarifies, nope, bought it from his brother-in-law, Brady. And she makes a point of saying she's owned 3 other cars. Like, I don't need your help with cars.
Right, pushing back on his narrative of her dependency. So, how did Judge Judy see it?
You could tell she thought something was fishy with both of them. But in the end, she basically said Hannafin was just slightly more believable.
Slightly.
Yeah. She even called Stanworth a hustler.
Ouch. And the judgment.
$1,800 for Hannafin.
Okay. And how did they feel afterwards? What were their reflections?
Hannafin talked about feeling vulnerable, mentioned that sugar daddy phrase again, implying she felt taken advantage of.
And Stanworth.
He felt he was the one taken advantage of. Total opposite views. So the big takeaway here, it really shows how messy these informal money deals can get, right?
Absolutely. Especially when you mix money with complicated relationships. What starts as a friendly offer, boom, courtroom.
You really have to wonder what each person thought the deal was from the start.
Okay, let's shift gears. Case 2, Rickard versus McCandless. This one's about a kick truck.
Yeah, literally. It starts with a drunken argument outside a party. This guy, Jesse McCandless, is arguing with his date.
Oh, boy.
Apparently it was their first date, known each other maybe 2 weeks, and he speculates out loud she might have bipolar disorder.
Not cool. Definitely not first date material.
Right. So Rickard, the plaintiff, steps in, tells McCandless, hey, maybe you should leave.
Okay, sensible intervention.
McCandless's story, though, is that Rickard didn't just talk. He claims Rickard pushed him, making him stumble into Rickard's truck and denting it.
Ah, the blame shift. So who saw what? Evidence.
That's the problem. Rickard brought people to court, but none of them actually saw McCandless kick the truck.
No eyewitnesses to the kick itself.
There was talk about someone named Samantha who supposedly saw it, but she wasn't there. Not in court.
So just hearsay about Samantha, what else?
Well, McCandless supposedly admitted it later to Rickard's insurance agent and also to a friend named Steve.
But again,
Hearsay. Judge Judy jumped right on that. Secondhand info doesn't count for much legally. You need the person who heard it directly or ideally saw it.
right. First-hand accounts are key. You can really sense Judge Judy's frustration building in these situations.
Totally. No solid proof. Just he said, essentially.
And the outcome reflects that, I assume?
Yep. Case dismissed. Lack of direct evidence.
And Rickard wasn't happy, I bet.
No, he was pretty frustrated. Felt like he didn't get justice. So the lesson here seems pretty clear, doesn't it?
Absolutely. In court, especially for physical stuff like this, you need credible witnesses who saw it happen. Direct evidence.
What someone thinks happened or heard later, it just doesn't cut it.
Makes you think about how much we rely on less solid info in just everyday life, you know?
Okay, case number 3. Back to money disputes. This is Davis versus Podexter, an unpaid loan between ex-partners.
Mark Davis suing Crispell Podexter. They have a grown son together. He's suing for $2,000.
Yeah, he says he loaned it to her back in December '09 to stop her from getting evicted. Says they were, cordial at the time.
Okay. And her defense?
Initially, she claims it was a gift.
A gift? Why?
Her argument was that Davis hadn't paid enough child support over the years, so this was like making up for it. Okay. But Davis disputes that.
Strongly. He says she called him multiple times, desperate about rent, about eviction. He offered a loan, delivered the cash himself through their son, actually, and even gave extra cash to the son and Podexter's daughter at the same time.
So a loan with repayment terms.
That's what Davis says. Repay when she got her tax refund in March.
But then her story changed.
Yeah, later she claimed Davis actually harassed her, threatened her, which is a pretty different narrative from accepting a gift.
Okay, that complicates things. Anything else going on?
Well, Davis had just gotten an inheritance, $80,000, back in November.
Ah, so he had the money to lend. Maybe that's why she thought gift.
Possibly. But here's a weird contradiction. She claims he threatened her.
Really?
Right. But after these supposed threats, she went with him to visit his sick mother.
Doesn't quite add up if you're being threatened, does it?
Not really. And the child support thing, Davis said he always paid. Podexter first denied it, then admitted he started paying after she went on welfare.
Okay. So details getting murky. What about their son now?
Transcript mentions he's not in school, working off the books at an auto sound shop. Just context, I guess.
So Judge Judy's take.
Pretty skeptical of Podexter's changing stories, the inconsistencies.
Yeah, and the verdict.
Ruled for Davis, $1,800. She acknowledged Podexter had paid back $200 already.
How did Podexter react?
Not well. Called Davis evil, conniving. Lots of bad blood there, clearly.
And Davis.
Just frustrated, she tried to change the deal after the fact.
Man, this case really shows how tangled things get with exes and money, huh?
For sure. Past history, resentment. It all bleeds into present disagreements. Makes you wonder how much was about the loan versus everything else.
Totally. Okay, next up. Williams versus King. This one's family. Money within the family.
Always tricky. Keena Williams suing her sister-in-law, Yolanda King, for $1,000.
What was the loan for?
Williams lent it to King in December '09 so King could go to some kind of life seminar. A life seminar. Okay. What's King's defense?
King says Williams forgave the loan. Said it was King's destiny to get the money for the seminar. Her destiny.
Wow. But the original deal was repayment when King got her taxes back.
So King is claiming Williams specifically said something that made it a gift.
Exactly. King quotes Williams as saying, "I'm going to give this to you because I know it's your destiny." King took that to mean it's a gift.
But Williams remembers it differently.
Completely. Williams denies saying that. Says she just expressed being happy to have been able to do this for you. You know, supportive, but not forgiving the debt.
Ah, the nuance. Big difference between being happy to help and writing off a loan. How did Judge Judy read it?
She sided with Williams's interpretation. Basically said King's version of the quote didn't sound like explicit loan forgiveness.
Makes sense. So judgment for.
Williams, full $1,000.
And King's reaction.
Still believed it was a gift, felt misunderstood. Which, you know, happens easily in families.
Oh, absolutely. So the takeaway, communication, communication, communication.
Especially with family and money. Assumptions are dangerous. You think something's understood, but nope. Court.
Makes you think about your own family loans or gifts, doesn't it? Got to be crystal clear.
Okay, case number 5, Stewart versus Hunt. This seems a bit more cut and dried, maybe. Selling a car to a friend.
Yeah, Tara Stewart suing her ex-friend, James Hunt. She sold him a car for $500. He paid $120. So she wants the remaining $380.
Okay, pretty straightforward debt. Does Hunt deny owing the money?
Actually, no. He admits he owes the $380.
Huh. So, why are they in court?
Well, Stewart also mentions he was slandering her online. But the transcript doesn't really go into that. It's like a side issue.
Okay, so what is Hunt's defense for not paying the money he admits he owes?
His main argument seems to be that Stewart won't take the car back.
Wait, what? He wants her to take back the car she already sold him.
Yeah. Like if she takes it back, they're square. But Judge Judy shut that down fast.
As she would. You sell something, you're not obligated to buy it back just because the buyer changed their mind or can't pay.
Exactly. So with Hunt admitting the debt and having no real defense.
Judgment for Stewart, $380.
You got it.
How did Hunt react to losing a case where he admitted the debt?
Called the whole thing ridiculous, blamed it on immaturity, maybe on both sides. Still didn't deny owing it, though.
Weird. So even with personal drama swirling around...
Sometimes a debt is just a debt. The legal part is simple, even if the relationship isn't.
Yeah, it shows how we can muddy simple financial things with emotional stuff.
Okay, number 6. Wills versus Koopa. Ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, and traffic tickets.
Lists of wills suing Denby Cooper for $2,470. This was the balance from $2,670 she gave him for traffic tickets. He'd paid back $200.
Okay, so he owed money for tickets. Why did she pay them?
Cooper claims Wills offered to pay them as a gift.
Another gift offense.
Yep. He says it was right before they were supposed to go to Vegas, and he couldn't drive with unpaid tickets. Wills apparently put it on her mom's credit card and paid her mom back.
And what was Cooper's situation at the time?
Unemployed, living with his parents. He claims he was going to set up a payment plan with the city, but not necessarily pay Wills back.
Because?
Gift. That's his story. Judge Judy seemed, let's say, highly unconvinced.
I bet. She probably asked why he wouldn't offer to pay back his girlfriend who bailed him out financially.
Exactly. Her skepticism was really clear.
And how did Cooper defend the gift idea?
He doubled down. Compared it to getting, like, a Christmas sweater from his grandma.
The $2,600 sweater.
Okay. Judge Judy wasn't having it. Pointed out he didn't ask his parents for help, parents who apparently called him a bum.
Ouch. Anything else?
There was a hint he might have been working under the table, fixing cell phones while also collecting unemployment. Just added to the picture of irresponsibility in Judge Judy's view.
So the judgment was pretty predictable.
Oh, yeah. Judgment for Wills, full $2,470.
How did Wills feel?
Disappointed it came to this, but glad she won.
And Cooper, still sticking to the gift story.
Yep. Sounded bitter about the breakup, too. Seemed like his view of the money was tangled up in the relationship ending.
This one really hammers home the difference between a real gift and a loan, especially in relationships, right?
Definitely. And just basic personal responsibility. You rack up tickets, you got to pay them. Don't expect your girlfriend to cover it as a gift unless that's crystal clear.
Makes you think about those unspoken expectations when money changes hands between partners.
Totally. Okay, next case takes us online. McGlynn versus Lowe.
This one sounds different. Sammy McGlynn suing David Lowe for about $7,750. Claims they were loans for things like his child support and rent.
Okay, but what was their relationship?
Mostly online. They met online, only met in person like 3 or 4 times.
Wow, okay, so limited real-world contact. In Lowe's defense.
No agreement to repay. He considered a plane ticket. She bought him a gift and basically said all the money was like that.
Even the money specifically for child support and rent.
That's his claim. It seems Millen initiated the online relationship and started sending money pretty quickly. Lowe was going through a divorce, apparently shared his money troubles with her.
So she sent $600 for child support, $1,150 for rent, based on an online connection.
Looks like it. Significant financial support for someone she barely knew in person.
Interesting twist later.
Yeah, Lowe apparently decided later that Millen's emails and texts weren't appropriate for his young kids from the divorce.
Convenient timing, maybe? When she wanted the money back.
Seems possible. Judge Judy certainly wasn't impressed with Lowe.
What did she say?
She tried to categorize his behavior. Like, was he courting, conning, or a pervert?
Whoa.
She landed on conning. Pretty blunt assessment.
So judgment from Millen, full $1,750. The transcript doesn't say much about Lowe's reaction.
Man, that's a cautionary tale about online relationships and money, isn't it?
Absolutely. Lending significant money based on limited interaction and emotional appeals online. Huge risk. Trust can be easily manipulated.
Okay, case number 8. Stevens versus Halstead. This one sounds like a soap opera. Bail money, loans, damaged property.
Yeah, a lot going on. Shelley Stevens, suing ex-boyfriend Jason Halstead, wants $400 for bail she paid, money for work expenses while living with him, and cost of a fridge she allegedly broke.
How long were they together?
Short but intense, apparently. Met Feb 2010, and Halstead's defense, gifts again.
Yep. Claims it was all gifts. He was network engineer, supposedly making decent money. Stevens is a special ed teacher. She moved in with him really fast after her last relationship ended.
Okay, fast move in. Did she pay rent?
She says she paid rent for March, April, May. But then there's this dispute about a verbal agreement for him to cover her work expenses since she was living there. She showed credit card bills for like Comcast, AT&T.
Verbal agreements. Tricky. What about the bail money?
Halstead got arrested in Atlanta. Drug charges. This was right after he got his first paycheck at a new job.
Yikes.
Stevens bailed him out for $400. Said the deal was immediate repayment. He didn't pay. Claimed he was behind on child support.
Always an excuse. And the broken fridge.
Stevens claims when she went to get her stuff after they broke up, he got abusive. Threw her down, broke the fridge. She filed a police report.
Okay, serious accusations. But wait, didn't he file something too?
He did. Got a restraining order against her. It was temporary, 90 days, granted after a hearing.
Wow, mutual accusations flying. Anything else?
Stevens admitted that while living with him those months, she was saving money for a house down payment. Seems she wasn't paying rent or utilities during that saving period beyond the first 3 months.
Judge Judy probably picked up on that.
Big time. She seemed skeptical about the loans, suggesting the 3 months of free rent and utilities might have canceled those out.
So, given the mess, dismissal.
Case dismissed. Too much conflicting info, hard to sort out the finances versus the living situation.
How did Stevers feel?
Called Halstead a con man, career criminal, clearly very bitter.
And Halstead?
Called her belligerent, bipolarish, just nasty all around. The lesson here seems pretty clear too. Moving too fast, mixing finances without clear agreements, recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. And proving verbal deals after a nasty breakup. Almost impossible. Documentation is everything.
Okay, number 9. Muir versus DeLee. Dividing property after a long relationship.
This is always tough. Annie's Muir suing ex-boyfriend Robert DeLee wants stuff back from a storage unit in his name.
How long were they together?
On and off for 8.5 years. So lots of time to accumulate stuff together.
Right. So the fight is over. Who took what when they split? Like furniture, appliances? Exactly. Judge Judy specifically mentioned things like a vacuum, a TV, stuff that's really hard to prove ownership of after years of living together without marriage or formal agreements.
Yeah, how do you prove whose lamp it is after 8 years?
It's incredibly difficult. And Judge Judy basically recognized that. She refused to try and figure out who owned every single household item.
So what did she do? Told them to figure it out themselves. Go through the storage unit, talk, exchange what they each believes was theirs.
And if they couldn't agree?
Case dismissed. Basically, work it out or the court can't help you with this level of detail. No reflections noted in the transcript. That really shows the limits of the court sometimes, doesn't it? Especially with long-term informal relationships. It does. It's a strong argument for having conversations about property during the relationship, maybe even documenting bigger purchases, even if you're not married.
Good point. Okay, case 10. Idris versus Brown. Jealousy and a keyed car.
Oh boy. Halim Idris, suing his ex-girlfriend Chelsea Brown, says she keyed his car out of jealousy.
What sparked the jealousy?
She found pictures of other women on his phone. Classic trigger.
When did this happen?
The morning after they had a fight at his place, she admitted taking his phone while he was in the bathroom, saw the pics.
Did she admit keying the car?
She admitted being furious, wanting to go home, didn't explicitly admit the keying in the summary, but the circumstances were strong.
Okay. What was the damage estimate?
Idris came in with an estimate for $3,200. Full paint job, bumper work. Sounds high. What did Judge Judy think? Exactly what you're thinking. Way too high. Said the car itself was probably worth $3,000 at most. She emphasized reasonable damages.
So she didn't award the full amount?
Nope. Suggested he could probably get it fixed for maybe $1,000.
Yeah.
Or, interestingly, he could just sign the car over to Brown.
Huh. Give her the car she keyed.
That was one option floated. But the judgment was for Idris, $1,000 cash.
Okay. How did Brown explain her actions?
Claimed the pictures were old. Said she just wanted him to feel the hurt she felt.
And Idris's take on her?
Said she was prone to jealous rages. Implied it wasn't the first time.
This one's pretty straightforward takeaway-wise.
Yeah.
Jealousy leads to bad, destructive decisions.
Absolutely. And legally, damages have to be reasonable and related to the actual loss, not just an inflated number.
Right. Can't profit from someone else's bad act. Okay, number 11, Awad versus Awad. This sounds quick.
Extremely quick. Dennis Awad suing his ex-wife, Sandra Awad, for assault.
Okay. Details.
None. The transcript excerpt gives 0 details about the alleged assault.
So what happened in court?
Judge Judy just dismissed it. Abruptly. Dismissed an assault case just like that. Why?
Her reasoning. She told Mr. Awad, who was 56, that he just needed to move on with his life. That's it.
Wow. Just move on. Yep, no reflections, nothing more.
Sometimes the court's wisdom is just blunt, I guess. Like, stop wasting time on this.
Seems like it in this case. A reminder that not every grievance gets a full legal airing, especially if it seems petty or unsupported.
Okay, number 12. Bircher versus Baker. Back to bail money and car repairs between exes.
Catherine Bircher suing Ryan Baker for $800 total. $500 was for bail she posted from him, $300 for car repairs afterwards.
Why was Baker arrested?
Outstanding warrants, lots of them. Driving on suspended license multiple times, no insurance, seatbelt violation, taillight out. And he'd missed court dates before. A pattern.
Okay, so clearly irresponsible driving history.
Yeah.
How did he try to explain the arrest this time?
Get this, he tried to blame Bircher.
Blame her for his warrants.
Said it started from an argument where she smacked him, and he ran off to work, which somehow led to the arrest on the old warrants. It makes no sense. That's a creative blaming. Okay, so she bailed him out for $500. Then what? He gets out, asks her for more money, $300 for car repairs, claims he lost his job while he was in jail.
And she gave it to him.
She did, with the understanding he'd pay back the total $800 from future paychecks.
Let me guess. He paid back nothing.
Exactly 0. Judge Judy apparently laid into him pretty hard for the irresponsibility, the blame shifting.
I can imagine. So judgment for Bircher.
Absolutely. Full $800.
How did Bircher feel?
Pleased with the outcome. Vindicated, probably.
And Baker. Any last words?
Tried to claim his new girlfriend texted Bircher about the money. Like, that somehow absolved him. Still avoiding responsibility.
Man, this one screams consequences for breaking the law repeatedly and just entitlement.
Totally. Trying to make everyone else responsible for your own mess.
Yeah.
And again, be careful who you lend money to, especially bail money.
Seriously. Okay, almost through the detailed ones. Number 13, Van Buskirk versus Shook. Rent, bail, and an engagement ring.
Yeah, this one's got layers. Wendy Van Buskirk suing Jonathan Shook. He was a friend of her son, lived with her for about 1.5 years.
What's she suing for?
Unpaid rent, $200 bail money she put up for him, and part of the cost of an engagement ring he bought his girlfriend. Okay, why did he get arrested?
Yeah.
Had concealed kitchen knives on him. Charges were dropped later, but Van Buskirk still paid the $200 bail. And the rent disputed, disagreement over whether he still owed rent.
But the engagement ring. How did Van Buskirk get involved in paying for that?
Shook bought a ring, paid about half. He claims Van Buskirk offered the rest, $629.99 plus a $74.99 warranty. As a gift, another gift claim, and for engagement ring for his girlfriend, seems unlikely. Judge Judy thought so too, especially the expensive warranty part. Doesn't scream casual gift.
Anything else about Shook?
History of marijuana use mentioned, though he claimed to be clean for 3 to 4 years. So how did Judge Judy rule on these multiple claims? Awarded Van Buskirk $695. That covered the ring balance and the bail money. But no rent was awarded. Interesting split decision. What's the takeaway here? Shows how complicated it gets when you're financially helping friends, especially ones with maybe unstable lives. The line between loan and gift gets so blurry.
Yeah, good intentions can lead to messy court cases.
Okay, our last really detailed case, Martella versus Tafoya. This sounds intense. Assault, property damage, countersuit.
Very intense. Kathy Martella suing ex-boyfriend Donald Tafoya. They have a baby together, just 10 months old. Tumultuous relationship, maybe a year or two.
What are the specifics of the suit?
Martella claims assault, property damage.
Tafoya.
Countersues for property damage he claims she caused. And there's a heavy backdrop. Both have histories of drug addiction, met in Narcotics Anonymous. Martella is 43, Tafoya 31.
Wow, okay. A lot of volatility there. What did Martella accuse him of?
Smoking marijuana in the house, which she said was dangerous because their daughter has a heart condition. Also physical assault, damaging her stuff.
And Tafoya's response: denies the marijuana use in the house, claims she was the violent one, says she pulled spark plug wires from his truck once.
Just constant conflict.
Seems like it. Conflicting stories about incidents everywhere, even one at the hospital when their daughter was having surgery.
Oh, that's awful. Did Martella admit to anything?
Admitted she snapped once when she smelled marijuana. Tafoya also claims she wrote hateful stuff on his mirror. She denied that.
How did Judge Judy handle this level of chaos and mutual accusation?
Strong disapproval of both of them, their behavior, the drug use context. She actually urged Martella to get psychiatric help. Clearly concerned about the whole situation, especially the child, and the legal outcome. Both cases dismissed. Martella's suit, Tafoya's countersuit. Just not enough credible evidence on either side to sort out the truth from the accusations.
So no winner, legally speaking. How did they react?
Martella still felt Tafoya was high, mentioned her cousin doesn't smoke pot, weirdly. Tafoya felt she used their daughter against him. Still blaming each other. This is just tragic, really. Shows the destructive power of addiction and toxic relationships.
Absolutely.
And how hard it is for the legal system to find truth when everything is just accusations and counter-accusations with maybe unreliable narrators.
We do have one more case just mentioned briefly at the end of our source material. Johns versus Carlock and Fostick.
Right, that was the landlord suing tenants for leaving an apartment messy.
Yeah, but we don't have any details on how messy or what the outcome was. So just a mention.
Okay, so wow, we've covered a lot of ground. Bringing this deep dive, this look into these Judge Judy transcripts to a close, it's just incredible the range of human drama we saw, isn't it?
It really is. From like that Best Buy card dispute escalating.
Right. To serious threats, family feuds over destiny loans, keyed cars, bail money sagas. It's a lot.
Absolutely. And you see these themes repeating, don't you? Like the danger zone of lending money to people you know.
Oh, definitely. Loan versus gift is a huge one. And just how hard it is to actually resolve these deep personal fights in a formal court setting.
And evidence. The number of cases that fell apart because of hearsay or lack of proof.
Crucial. It really highlights that. And honestly, just the sheer unpredictability of how people behave when they're cornered or angry, some of the logic or lack thereof is baffling.
Totally baffling. It makes you think, listening to all this, which stories really stuck with you? Were there moments where you just thought, wow, I can't believe that? Or maybe, yeah, I've seen something like that happen.
It's that raw, unfiltered glimpse, isn't it? Seeing how easily everyday disagreements can spiral into needing a judge to decide gives you a different perspective.
And it does make you reflect on your own life a bit, doesn't it? Your relationships, how you handle money with people, how you navigate disagreements.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it reinforces the need for super clear communication, understanding what the other person thinks is happening.
Yeah, and maybe thinking about consequences before acting out of anger, like with that keyed car.
For sure. So maybe a final thought to kind of chew on from all this.
Yeah, let's leave the listener with something. After seeing all these raw, unfiltered conflicts, what does it tell us about maybe trust, how much we rely on it, how easily it breaks?
That's a good one. Or maybe about the legal system itself. It tries to impose order, but can it really fix the underlying human issues?
Right. And what about the stories people tell? The narratives they build to justify their actions, like all those gift claims.
Exactly. We heard so many conflicting stories. It makes you wonder. These cases, they're dramatic, but they're just a tiny sample of disputes happening constantly. What is it about us, about human nature, that leads to so much conflict?
Deep thought to end on. Lots to consider there.